Well, love them or hate them, there's just never a dull moment at Manchester United. But one of the longest running sagas of modern times seems to be heading for its conclusion, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the British billionaire, confident of completing at least a partial takeover. So what happens next, and what does the future hold at Old Trafford? After so many false dawns in the saga, Manchester United fans won't be getting too excited about the prospect of Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking partial control at Old Trafford. But Thursday feels like a big day in the process. There's a board meeting taking place. Surely Ratcliffe's proposal to buy a 25% stake in United will feature high on the agenda. This is very much the first step for Ratcliffe towards what he hopes will be full control eventually. How that looks, we do not know. What we are aware, though, is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants control of the footballing side of Manchester United. Seems the Glazers have always focused more on the marketing side of the club, would be happy with that. So how did we get to this point? Well, it all began back in November of last year when the eyes of the footballing world were on Qatar for the World Cup. That was when the Glazers decided to drop their bombshell announcement that they were looking for reinvestment or maybe even a full sale of Manchester United. That got the supporters who have long since been campaigning and protesting against their divisive and at times destructive regime excited that the future could be much more positive. But if you've been tuning into talkSPORT, we've been saying for some time now that Joel and Avram Glazer, the two highest profile of those 6 Glazer siblings, didn't really want to leave completely at this stage. That made the bid from Qatari Sheikh Yassin bin Al-Thani always less palatable and less likely to go through, and patience in Qatar finally snapped over the course of the end of last week and into the weekend when Sheikh Yassin made it clear he was withdrawing from the bidding process. The pathway is clear for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, so what might the future look like under his regime? High on Ratcliffe's agenda is tackling the issues around Old Trafford. United legend Gary Neville, never shy of an opinion, has gone as far as to say it's falling down. I think that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but clearly it needs a facelift, it needs modernising. Fans watching the game against Crystal Palace recently were getting rained on because of a leak on the roof. So Jim Ratcliffe wants to increase capacity to 90,000 and turn it into a state-of-the-art stadium. Where the money is coming from for that at the moment remains open to conjecture. And it is likely to see Ratcliffe appointing his own people in high-profile positions. That could be dodgy ground for the likes of Richard Arnold, the chief executive, and John Murtagh, the current sporting director, with Murtagh arguably the most vulnerable. talkSPORT has been told Sir Jim definitely wants to bring in his own head of recruitment. That could well be Paul Mitchell, who filled a similar role at both Southampton and Tottenham to good effect, and who knows Ratcliffe from his time working in Monaco. Of course, Ratcliffe is the owner of Nice, currently second and unbeaten in the French league. And we're also expecting Sir Dave Brailsford, the former boss of the Team GB cycling team at London 2012 and a key part of Ratcliffe's Ineos petrochemical company, to have a big part to play in any boardroom restructure. It's hard to put an exact timescale on when this partial takeover could go through, bearing in mind it's only a loose agreement between Ratcliffe and the Glazer family at this stage. Ideally, Ratcliffe, who wants overall say in how the sporting side of United is run, would want to be in situ in time for the January transfer window. But don't get too excited, Manchester United fans, because there's still FFP concerns, so it's not guaranteed that they're going to be in a position to spend mega bucks in a transfer window anytime soon. Ratcliffe's proposal has proved divisive amongst Manchester United fans, bearing in mind it does keep the Glazers in situ, at least in the short term. But if this does go to vote on Thursday and does get ratified by the Old Trafford hierarchy, I think it can be seen as the first step in a potentially long road to finally ending their unpopular ownership. This is about long-term stability and success for United rather than a short-term uplift.